Hello, hi guys. My name is Jessica Milner, and I am the PLC lead for chorus grades 6 through 12 for chorus. And today we're going to talk about something that I am extremely passionate about, and that is choral practices for the visually impaired. Years ago, when I first started teaching high school chorus, I had two blind students. One was a senior when they entered into my program, and when I took the program over, sorry, there was a senior student, and then there was a freshman. Her name was Janai. Whenever, and I would like to briefly speak on like why I'm passionate about visually impaired students and accommodating them in the choral classroom is through my experience, I saw how Janai was often isolated because when it came to sight reading practice for LGPE or just classroom learning music in the same way that her other peers learn music, um, it was just difficult to see her just kind of feel left out and just listening along. And the only thing that she could really do was participate in like finding errors or errors in the practice and singing. And I didn't feel like that was a very fulfilling experience for her. So she and I created a sensory board for her that's easily adjustable with notes, durations, and that in the like, so that when we had class, it was easy and instantaneous for me to be able to transcribe what we were seeing so that she could also read it and feel it for herself. Um, that experience gave me light for this presentation because I am sure that there are many other choral directors who have blind students in their classrooms, and they just want different resources and abilities to give them a better experience or give them a better overall choral experience just like their peers. So let's get into it. Let's talk about it. For this presentation, I interviewed Sean from Columbus, Georgia. He is a current senior, and he was just accepted at the Schwab School of Music, and he'll be a music education major. He has a huge passion of being a director, and so I wanted to talk to a current student who can speak to their current practices at the high school level, and also as to what their experience was like auditioning and preparing to be a music education major. So, sight reading resources for the blind. To the right here, I have a picture, of course, like typical notation, what we see, and right underneath it is a braille music score. So that's what it would look like in braille. So accessible daily routines in which the student feels included. Make sure that there is an opportunity for your student to have some kind of job to do when it comes to, especially at this time in the rehearsal when we are sight reading and it is time for that. And Sean mentioned that his teacher prepared the uh, very similar to this, the notations um, for the sight reading, which is very short, very small, um, and and the turnaround for it can be like a day. We're gonna talk about like the turnaround time later on. So Sean talked about a lot of the times like being isolated a lot of the times in class because of his disability, and so other ways to encourage participation. His teacher had him sitting at the piano some days and doing oral transpositions, and that definitely made him feel more included. Encourage blind students to read music in Braille. Blind people do not read in a linear way that we read, so it's more of a horizontal, as you can see here on the screen. So what happens like if you have a student like I did who reads Braille but doesn't read Braille music? And once you start studying Braille music and Braille music notation and how difficult it is, and of course I'm I'm not blind, so I don't know how to read Braille. Um, what do you do? Well, there are multiple free websites used for Braille score that has a Braille music chart that will show you what it'll show you like this is what a half note looks like, half note, quarter note, eighth note, 16, all the notations and the pitches. Excuse me as well. The these websites are self-teacher or self-taught, and so they're very user friendly. Excuse me. They're very user friendly, and they feature all different types of Braille music methods, which there are 4 different types. Sean, the student that I was referring to earlier, has his experience. He just buckled down, got on YouTube, and just learned him for himself. He learned it on his own. And I know every student won't have that ability, but if you do have that, or you do have the opportunity to sit down with your student, there are free websites with Braille music scores for that. Sight reading class generates examples of LGP to practice. So generate the examples to practice first, and you can't transcribe music instantaneously without that tool. The tool is the Braille music notator, Braille music notator, and that notator takes PDFs of scores and instantaneously changes it to Braille music. There are a lot of hiccups when it comes to this piece of technology. One, it is extremely expensive to purchase this for a school building. It's to have one in every school building. It's very, very expensive. Another thing is it takes away time from the teacher. So like, as we know, as teachers are really, really busy. It is definitely harder to like wait for the days when you have it. But instead, if you had the Braille music notator, it would be an instantaneous transition. So you don't have to like worry about that. So make sure you have that sight reading in class beforehand. And most schools have Braille music, Braille printers for the students. Like I had Janai, like she could just type out and write out and print everything out. The thing is, what you don't want to do is have like you don't want to put like C, D flat, D natural, E flat, E natural, F, you know what I'm saying, like G flat. Like you don't want them to have it typed out that way and learning the music that way, because that's not the correct or proper way to teach sight reading or sight singing Braille score. Yeah, so another thing I want to say before I move on is accommodation trumps innovation. I was very kindly reminded by Sean that it is nice to, have teachers that'll use what they have around them to create sensory boards, to create different textiles and tactiles, but it is best so that the student can have the same experience as their peers to get a Braille music translator. Like request sight reading in Braille beforehand for all events. These events include like LGPE, all states, all district honor chorus, anything that has to do with an audition, even collegiate auditions that will that'll make it a lot more easier for the student. All right, guys. So that is just part 1 of Choral resources and choral practices for visually impaired students. In part 2, we're going to get into more resources and more helpful tips. And I really do hope this helps as you are creating the classroom environment for your visually impaired students. All right, bye guys.